I generally tend to avoid the late war BF-109s, not because they are buttercraft or because they have any serious flaws, but mostly because of the rather unfortunate battle rating in Warthunder, which often forces them to face extremely unforgiving opponents that are, let's just say, historically questionable. But today I decided to give the BF-109 G-10 a chance. Like most late war 109s, the G-10 is an exceptional vertical fighter. It climbs incredibly well, retains energy exactly like Uncle Messerschmitt intended, and when you combine that with the powerful MK108 cannon mounted through the engine, it quickly becomes a nightmare for any poor soul who failed to climb high enough at the start of a match. So if you want to see the best way to fly the late war BF-109s and maybe learn a few tricks about energy fighting along the way, stick around till the end of the video, because today I'm going to take the BF-109 G-10 into as many dogfights as I can until I become an ace in a day. Right after takeoff, I start climbing and bring the aircraft up to around 3000 meters, a reasonable altitude to begin scanning for distracted targets. Not long after that, I suddenly spot a suspicious contact racing across below me at high speed. I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna dive on top of this guy and find out. Spitfire. That's a Spit. It's going to the vertical. He manages to evade just in time, so I extend back into the vertical only to realize that this is a Griffon engine Spitfire, my worst nightmare. These things are incredibly fast and climb extremely well, so keeping my energy advantage at all times becomes absolutely critical here. The plan is pretty simple: force him to climb and drag him into a classic energy trap. Now gotta be careful with those Hispano cannons, look at that. A little bit of flaps here. Track flaps now. Trying to catch this Spitfire, look at this. Come on. Alright, into the vertical again. This guy clearly knows what he's doing. He keeps defying in the horizontal where the Spitfire performs best and refuses to follow me into the vertical where I'm trying to set up those energy traps. I must find another way to pressure him, so I'm going to try a head-on pass diving in from above. Right, let's go for a third pass. What a bastard. But while I'm busy playing cat and mouse with the Spitfire, this F6F Hellcat is now moving in to help his friend. If I want to stay alive a little longer, I'm going to have to improve my reaction time. Oh, it's gonna be trouble. Managed to nick the F6F there. Got a P63 or P63, that is. And now things have suddenly become a lot more complicated. I've got a P63 on my tail, clearly eager to let me sample that 37mm cannon of his, and on top of that the Griffon Spitfire is already lining up to present me as a trophy to the Queen of England. So the plan now is pretty simple: reset the fight. I am going to extend back into the vertical, regain some separation, and try to set up another energy trap. Is that the F6F? Takeoff flaps. The Spitfire over here, look at this. Alright, I'll run out of cannons. Spitfire is back there. Let's go into the glow and disappear. The P-63 falls victim to German engineering, becoming my second splash of the day right after the Hellcat I managed to catch earlier. But with the Spitfire still sitting on a healthy energy state, the smarter move now is to disengage and create some distance, because in air combat, knowing when to fight is just as important as knowing when to avoid it. Alright, so after refuel, repair and rearm, I climb back up to my usual altitude looking for new targets, but a dense storm has suddenly rolled in, making visibility significantly worse and forcing me to drop a little lower so I can actually scan the terrain for contacts. Oh man, I don't like being that low. I don't like at all being this low on a 109. And then out of absolutely nowhere, I hear a terrifying sound rushing just beneath me. It's a bumper. Fucking hell. Something just blasted through the clouds at incredible speed, sounding like the devil himself tearing through the sky. Wherever that was, I need to figure it out quickly and make sure it doesn't come back around and catch me from behind. What is this? Oh boy, what is that? P-51, full throttle now. Oh boy, we got another P-47. Let's see if I can stick a 30mm round into this guy's head. Holy shit! This P-47 won't be terrorizing the skies anymore, at least for now, becoming my third splash of the day. But I've made quite a bit of noise up here and it's drawn the attention of this F4U Corsair, which seems to have gotten a little lost on its way to the Pacific. I will have to react quickly if I want to stay clear of those tracers. Look at that, what is this? Maybe a bomber? It is not an ally. Could be a... that's definitely a Corsair. The Corsair climbs up to my altitude, so I pull the fight into the vertical, turning it into a one-circle engagement before dropping back down on top of him. Look at that bastard, just trade all of his speed. Oh, I lost sight of him. There he is, look at that, he's stalling right in my face. Oh boy, look at this. What have you done, buddy? Jesus Christ. You can't pull up into the vertical like that, man. Damn. That guy just traded all of his speed for altitude and became a sitting duck. Need to be careful when doing that. The poor Corsair becomes my fourth splash of the day after breaking the first rule of energy fighting. Never allow your opponent to hold the energy advantage, and that's exactly how the BF-109 G-10 should be flown. Stay faster than your enemy, stay higher than your enemy, or ideally both at the same time. And finally, the storm has begun to clear, so I can climb a little higher again and continue my search for new targets. Yes, someone just took off from there. There's three guys in a little 4-wall up ahead. Alright. Let's see what we can do. It looks like we've got some company down there because I'm seeing at least 2 enemies, but that shouldn't be too much of a problem as long as I stick to boom and zoom tactics. Alright, I'm gonna go for this dude down here who looks like an enemy. He's not answering radio calls. Let's cut through right now. It looks like a fighter to me. It's definitely a fighter. And it looks like an F6F, look at that. Yeah, that's the F6F with the radar. He just saw me, look at this. Fucking hell. Freaking German ballistics. I usually describe the ballistics of the German 30mm cannon as shooting tennis balls underwater, but I don't stick around to debate on that because engaging in this sword fight will be a death sentence for the 109. Let's use flaps right now. Let's retract flaps, always flap at the top of vertical maneuvers. I'm gonna cut throttle a little bit, and if this guy climbs a bit, look at this. Look at this. Yes! Jesus Christ! Go back to Okinawa, you freaking F6F! Alright, let's go back into the vertical. Jeez, there was another guy around here. The Hellcat makes the fatal mistake of climbing right as I begin my dive, turning him into my 5th splash of the day and finally making me an ace in a day. But I barely have time to celebrate because now there's another F4U Corsair chasing me from behind and he's about to make the very same mistake his wingman just did. There he is, look at that bastard down there, looks full throttle now. Oh, crap. Yeah, look at that, looks like flaps. Easy, easy, let's retract flaps right now. Oh man, I'm on my last couple of rounds here. Especially of the 30mm, what is this, another Corsair? Alright, I'm up for a dogfight by Corsair, look at this. Let's cut through like a little bit, follow these guys, let's use the low millimeter. Cut throttle, cut throttle. Yes, if he reverses. Yes! See you in Okinawa, you too, you freaking Corsair! Always remember to stay patient and never abandon your energy fighting strategy even when things start getting complicated. With enough resistance and proper energy management, sooner or later your opponent will make a fatal mistake just like this Hellcat and his wingman did. That brings my score up to 6 confirmed kills today, and now that I've officially become an ace, perhaps it's time to head back home. But unfortunately, on my way back to the airfield I ran straight into an enemy bomber formation with fighter escorts, and they have already spotted me, now closing in fast to intercept. Yeah, we gotta look at this, that's a Corsair down there. Yeah, he did not see me? What the hell is this guy doing? Another Corsair flying low, another energy trap waiting to be set, but this time I might not be so lucky. Alright, he's climbing, I think, can't see shit. I lost sights, there he is, he's climbing. Jesus Christ! The P63 from earlier comes in from behind, firing that 37mm like a madman, and he looks more than eager to send me straight back to Berlin. Look at the P63 with a 37mm cannon, let's avoid that shit. Crap. Oh my lord. That's freaking insane. Oh shit, I'm gonna have to play some flat scissors here. Fucker. I'm desperately trying to force an overshoot with a set of flat scissors, but the P63 is perfectly managing his closure and stays glued to my 6. I'll have to think fast if I want to survive this terrible mess. Look at that. The sound of that cannon, let's avoid that. Avoid. Ah, shit. Flaps now. Retract flaps. Ah, fucking bastard. Cut throttle right now. Let's take this into a one circle fight. Give me some flaps now. Come on, 109, don't let me down. Come on, buddy, don't let me down. The P63 keeps forcing the fight into a two-circle where he clearly has the advantage, constantly pushing me on the defensive and forcing me to evade his guns. I need to try the opposite and force a one-circle fight instead before it's too late.
Avoid that. Jesus Christ. The dude is not joking around with a 37mm beast. Oh, and he nicked me good there. Ah, shit. Flaps again. Avoid that, avoid that. Where is he taking all that energy from? Jesus Christ.
The P63 suddenly performs a reversal, giving me an opportunity to force a one-circle fight, but once again he manages to reach the merge before I do, forcing me to brake hard and evade his guns.
Oh no.
And finally, a decent gap finally opens up, giving me one last chance in a two-circle fight, but I will have to burn what little speed I have left by pulling the flaps, tightening my turn radius.
More flaps here. This is my only hope to kill this guy. My only hope. Ah, Jesus Christ. What the fuck was that? Jesus. Oh my lord. Oh man. Fuck. Oh no. Right, he nicked my engine cowling maybe. Holy shit. Fucking hell.
The P63 is an incredibly well-balanced aircraft. It clearly showed the advantage in both two-circle and one-circle engagements, and the pilot flying clearly knew what he was doing, but in the end it only took a small positioning mistake relative to the Bandit to open a gap just wide enough for me to cut inside his circle and fire a shot with barely a couple of seconds to spare, turning him into my 7th splash of the day. And with that, I can finally head back home, having become an ace in a day.